Today, I'm going to explain an incredible film released in 2016 called Canola. This movie follows the emotional journey of a grandmother in her struggle to reconnect with her granddaughter, who vanished mysteriously. The story begins with a peaceful scene by the sea, where divers are harvesting seaweed. Nearby, a young girl named Hye-Ji eagerly watches her grandmother at work, cheering her on. When her grandmother finally comes ashore, Hye-Ji asks a deep question: which is bigger, the sky or the sea? The grandmother replies that the sea is wider, adding that Hye-Ji will understand this when she's older. The bond between them is heartwarming. The next day, Hye-Ji accompanies her grandmother on errands, but on their way home, she runs to a stationery shop, eyes wide with excitement. She spots a box of crayons and pleads with her grandmother to buy them. At first hesitant, the grandmother finally agrees and pays with an eel she caught. Hye-Ji is overjoyed and immediately begins drawing on anything she can find, proudly showing her work to Toya. In the following days, the grandmother takes Hye-Ji to visit her father's grave. Hye-Ji talks to her father, sharing the joy of her new crayons. It's here we learn that Hye-Ji's mother left her, and her father passed away when she was very young. Now, her grandmother is the only family she has. One night, the grandmother lovingly tucks Hye-Ji into bed, reminding her they have an early morning market trip. The next day at the market, Hye-Ji sees a pair of bracelets she likes, but as her grandmother shops, she loses track of her granddaughter. In a panic, the grandmother drops everything to search for her, but tragically, Hye-Ji is gone. The story then jumps forward 12 years. Now, we meet a young woman with short hair, Hye-Ji, shoplifting makeup with a friend. They sneak away, returning to a run-down apartment where the electricity has been cut off. As Hye-Ji sketches with an eyebrow pencil, her friend Min-hee objects, clearly frustrated by their situation. Soon, two male acquaintances, Gye-Choon and Dong-Hwan, arrive and persuade the girls to join them. They head to an internet cafe, where Gye-Choon and Dong-Hwan manipulate people online, pretending to lure others for profit. They pressure Min-hee to assist in their scheme, which she refuses out of fear. At the motel, Hye-Ji meets the man who is involved with her friends. She distracts him, buys time, and manages to unlock the door. Right on cue, Gye-Choon and Dong-Hwan burst in, recording everything as they threaten to expose him if he doesn't pay. The man refuses, attempting to escape, but the two confront him, accidentally knocking him unconscious in the process. Panicked by the situation, Hye-Ji and her friends quickly pack their belongings and part ways to cover their tracks. With nowhere to go, Hye-Ji sits alone by the roadside. Her friend Min-hee finds her, bringing food to share. As they eat, Min-hee notices a missing person ad on her drink box that features a girl with Hye-Ji's name. Hye-Ji looks at the same ad and remains silent, her expression sad. Meanwhile, her grandmother is aging and still holding on to hope. At home, she clings to a faded missing poster of her granddaughter, refusing offers to sell her home, convinced that Hye-Ji will return one day. One day at the beach, the grandmother's neighbor, Seok-Ho, encourages her to sell the house and move to a more suitable place, but she declines, afraid that if Hye-Ji comes back, she won't be able to find her. In a poignant moment, the grandmother prays, asking for her granddaughter's safe return. Suddenly, Seok-Ho receives a call bearing incredible news: Hye-Ji has been found. Seok-Ho and his wife accompany the grandmother to an agency for a long-awaited reunion. Filled with anticipation, the grandmother prepares to meet her granddaughter. However, before the reunion, the agency requires her to complete paperwork to confirm her identity. The officer requests the grandmother's DNA sample and verifies details, such as whether Hye-Ji's mother was indeed Park So-hee. The grandmother confirms that Park So-hee was indeed her daughter-in-law. The officer then explains that Park So-hee had taken Hye-Ji from the orphanage but tragically passed away in an accident. Her husband survived but refused to care for Hye-Ji, leaving her at the orphanage. Realizing her granddaughter had been in an orphanage all these years, the grandmother's heartbreak is clear. Finally, after the paperwork is completed, the social worker brings Hye-Ji in. The moment Hye-Ji enters, the grandmother's face lights up, and she rushes to her granddaughter, touching her face and tearfully embracing her. She notices that Hye-Ji is still wearing the bracelet they bought at the market years ago. Their reunion is deeply emotional, filled with memories of their lost time together. Back home, the neighbors help set up a welcome celebration for Hye-Ji. When Hye-Ji tries to lend a hand, the grandmother lovingly insists she rest instead. In her room, Hye-Ji finds the old yellow crayon she once cherished and returns it to its place. The grandmother enters and, upon seeing the crayon, reminisces with her, promising they'll live happily together from now on. That evening, the community throws a lively party in Hye-Ji's honor, sharing fond memories of her childhood. The next day, the grandmother takes Hye-Ji to the market, buying her school supplies and a new uniform, as Hye-Ji will be attending school locally. Afterward, Hye-Ji calls her friend Min-hee from a public phone. Min-hee tells her that the man they attacked in the motel survived but is now blackmailing them, threatening to go to the police. Min-hee warns Hye-Ji to stay where she is for safety. The call cuts off and Hye-Ji heads home. On her way back, a man named Han stops her. Han turns out to be a childhood friend of Hye-Ji, though she doesn't seem to recognize him and brushes him off. Han insists on giving her a ride, and they pass by the beach, seeing divers at work. Han points out that the grandmother was also a diver, a fact that intrigues Hye-Ji. At school the following day, Hye-Ji is asked to introduce herself but does so coldly and distantly. During art class, the teacher, Jung-soo, a well-known artist, asks the students to draw freely. Hye-Ji remains silent, unsure of what to draw, and eventually asks to leave. The class and Han are taken aback by her attitude, but the teacher insists she stay until her drawing is complete. As the afternoon wears on, Hye-Ji still hasn't drawn anything. Frustrated, teacher Jung finally gives her permission to go. But just as Hye-Ji stands up, her makeup bag spills, and she picks up a lipstick. Inspired, she begins scribbling on the paper with the lipstick and mascara. That night, teacher Jung is surprised by the raw beauty of Hye-Ji's artwork, realizing she created it entirely with makeup. Hye-Ji arrives home, where the grandmother has prepared a meal for her. They eat together, with the grandmother lovingly feeding her granddaughter, expressing her deep affection. The next day, the grandmother shares with her neighbor Seok-Ho that she's considering selling the house to buy a more comfortable apartment for Hye-Ji. Meanwhile, at school, teacher Jung invites Hye-Ji to join the painting club, noting her potential if she continues to practice. Initially, Hye-Ji struggles to follow instructions and grows frustrated, nearly quitting, but she returns, preferring painting over regular classes. At home, she starts studying art books and painting techniques. The grandmother, hoping to provide a stable home for Hye-Ji, meets with a realtor about selling her house. Later, Han calls Hye-Ji, taking her to a secluded spot where they listen to music together. When Han's phone rings, Hye-Ji realizes he has a cell phone and borrows it to call Min-hee. However, Min-hee is with Chung-hae and Dong-hwan, who intercept the call and threaten Hye-Ji, demanding money. Conflicted, Hye-Ji ends the call, feeling confused and pressured. Rumors about Hye-Ji's behavior begin circulating, and people report her unconventional dress and actions to the grandmother. Despite this, the grandmother defends her, unwavering in her support. Back at school, Hye-Ji faces her teacher's disappointment over her half-hearted artwork. Teacher Jung reveals that the grandmother frequently visited him, pleading with him to guide Hye-Ji's talents and even bringing him homemade meals. Hye-Ji is touched, realizing how much her grandmother cares for her future. During a local festival, Hye-Ji sneaks away and takes the grandmother's savings book, intending to withdraw money to help Min-hee. But as she stands by the ATM, guilt overtakes her, and she decides against it. The grandmother soon notices the missing bank book, and though the police don't find evidence of theft, Seok-Ho advises the grandmother to protect herself. The grandmother, however, doesn't understand why she should be wary of her own granddaughter. Hye-Ji, overhearing, retreats to the beach, seeking solace. The grandmother follows and joins her, breaking the silence with a familiar question which is wider, the sky or the sea. This time, Hye-Ji answers. The sky. The grandmother responds, "You're an adult now," assuring Hye-Ji that she can rely on her for anything. Hye-Ji is left in quiet reflection. The next day at school, Hye-Ji asks teacher Jung if painting can convey her inner emotions, marking a shift in her perspective and growth. Inspired by her grandmother's love and support, Hye-Ji becomes more dedicated to learning painting. The next day, she studies with teacher Jung more seriously, her artwork steadily improving. One evening, Hye-Ji sees the grandmother lost in thought and joins her, expressing a desire to dive together as they once did. Although the grandmother hesitates, worried about the danger, she eventually gives in. They dive together, sharing a magical moment under the sea. Hye-Ji later shares her new painting with teacher Jung, who's impressed by its depth and sincerity. He encourages her to enter a painting contest, and for the first time, Hye-Ji feels confident and accepted. That night, however, a mysterious man calls her, demanding money and pressuring her to steal from her grandmother. Though angry, Hye-Ji is left torn, fearing he might harm her grandmother if she doesn't comply. The next morning, grandmother accompanies Hye-Ji to the station for the competition, reluctantly parting from her for the day. Near the venue, Hye-Ji secretly meets the man, who claims to be her father and hands him money. However, Han, who had grown suspicious, tracks her down and confronts the man, questioning his true intentions. At the competition, Hye-Ji finishes her painting a heartfelt piece titled Cute Confessions. Teacher Jung is pleased with her progress, but he soon discovers a letter attached to the painting, revealing Hye-Ji's decision to leave. In the letter, she thanks him and apologizes, entrusting her grandmother to his care. Meanwhile, back at home, Seok-Ho approaches grandmother, hesitating to share difficult news. He reveals that the DNA test results indicate Hye-Ji is not her biological granddaughter. Although Seok-Ho suspects Hye-Ji may be after grandmother's money, grandmother's love remains unwavering. Refusing to believe the test results, she defends Hye-Ji against Seok-Ho's doubts. Hye-Ji, now on the streets, encounters Chung-Kai and Dong-Hwan, who ambush her. However, Han arrives with the police, arresting the group just in time. Han now learns the truth about Min-hee's role in Hye-Ji's past. Hye-Ji is taken to the police station, where grandmother arrives to pick her up. Grandmother, still deeply caring, reassures Hye-Ji that she believes in her, despite others doubting her identity. However, the heartbreaking truth soon unfolds. Years ago, after Hye-Ji's mother remarried, she and Hye-Ji were in a fatal accident. Hye-Ji's stepfather then made a choice. He claimed the deceased child was his biological daughter, forcing his stepdaughter to take on Hye-Ji's identity in order to claim life insurance. Following these revelations, grandmother is devastated and faints while visiting Hye-Ji's gravesite, realizing she's lost her real granddaughter forever. Back at home, teacher Jung visits grandmother, bringing in Ju's award-winning painting titled Confessions. At first, grandmother ignores the painting, but curiosity draws her to open it. The painting shows grandmother swimming with two girls, a tribute to the life in Ju shared with her, and a quiet acknowledgement that, though she isn't the real Hye-Ji, she was grateful for their bond. Grandmother is moved to tears, finding peace in the painting's message. Time passes, and Ju, recently released from detention, returns to a normal life, working part-time as a cashier. Seok-Ho finds her, sharing the news that grandmother has been missing for a week after leaving her nursing home. With a heavy heart, Ju begins searching for her at the markets, where she finally finds grandmother, disheveled and disoriented. Grandmother struggles to recognize her but calls her by Hye-Ji's name. Ju decides to care for her as if she were Hye-Ji, honoring their shared memories. Seok-Ho goes to the prostitute and requests to let them stay in the house that the grandmother had sold. He even agrees to pay rent. Initially hesitant, she is moved by Seok-Ho's tears and finally agrees. 12 years ago, when Hye-Ji was expected to return, the house had been decorated for the occasion. Today, similarly, everyone is decorating the house, anticipating the grandmother's return. Finally, Youn brings her grandmother home, and they enjoy peaceful days in that house. One winter morning, as Youn is painting her grandmother's portrait, she playfully smears yellow paint on his face. They laugh together, feeling as if they've returned to childhood. Youn now takes full care of his grandmother. One day, while sitting on the shore, the grandmother talks about the sky being held within the sea's embrace. Youn contemplates this and realizes a deep truth. While the sky reflects upon the sea, it is the sea that holds the sky within itself, a metaphor for the boundless love and acceptance of his grandmother. One day, Youn lies his grandmother down and plays a tape recorder. He discovers that she had recorded a message for him while she was in prison, even sharing her bank account password. She calls him Hye-Ji, confessing that she had long known he wasn't Hye-Ji, yet never admitted it. She reveals she realized this the day he spoke of the sky being big, an insight that Hye-Ji would never have expressed. Even so, she assures him, "You are still my granddaughter without a doubt. I want you to live on as an artist." She reflects on her struggles as a diver and concludes, "In the end, I found you. I won't live much longer, but believe me, I don't want to leave you. I will go far away, but only physically." Moved by her words, Youn breaks down, asking for her forgiveness. The seasons change, and grandmother's health declines. She's moved to the hospital, and as a final tribute, Ju paints a beautiful scene of canola flowers for her. Standing by her bedside, she tells grandmother it's time to reunite with the loved ones she has long awaited. Grandmother, in turn, blesses Ju's future, expressing her gratitude once more for having her as a granddaughter. Finally, grandmother peacefully passes on, having completed her long, poignant journey to reconnect with her lost family. In the spirit of her beloved canola fields, she is metaphorically reunited with Hye-Ji, welcoming her with warmth and love, bringing the story to a heartfelt close. They stroll through a blooming field of canola flowers, their laughter echoing in the golden light as they walk hand in hand, a family in every sense of the word.